Oh, hello, hello. Hi, how are
Hi,
you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I really appreciate you taking your time to speak with me. We're just like really interested in your research. My school happens to be in New Hampshire too, where
hmm
Dartmouth area, so it's another another connection. And we just found your research on like natural language processing. We thought it was interesting. We just wanted to ask you some questions, just general and also just more specific about your research. So.
I'm interested in how did you find my research? Like,
Oh, uh, it's just true like genuine interest. We always are interested in natural language processing. That's really something that's come up a lot recently. And a lot of the members at my school are always interested in doing some research at Dartmouth because it's in relative distance. So we sometimes try to look for PhD students who are doing some work in the general areas that we're interested in. Like I know I'm part of the AI club at my school. I run it, and some people that are interested in robotics, for instance, will go look at other people at Dartmouth that are doing some robotics research. So we had some people interested in NLP stuff, and we found out about your work, and we thought it was rather interesting. So
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
yeah. Um, what can I address you by? Does Dr. Wang work?
Sorry.
What can I like address you by?
Oh, just MERS. It's okay. MERS using MERS
Oh,
one.
sure,
I'm
sure,
not a
sure.
doctor.
Okay, not yet, not yet. What year are you?
I will graduate in 2028,
2028.
but
Okay.
I aim for 27. 4 years.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's get started. So I was just wondering, just as like kind of an introduction, could you tell me like a little bit about yourself and like your journey in computer science and natural language processing?
Sure, sure. So I came from China. And yeah, so in my undergraduate, I also major in computer science, and I also major in computer science in my master. So all the way computer science. Um, when I was in high school, I'm very interested in science objects, science subjects. So I think maybe majoring technical major maybe will be suitable for me. So I choose computer science. And then in my undergraduate, actually I didn't conduct many research in my undergraduate years. I started my research when I became a master student. So um, and actually in the beginning of my research, I'm not doing natural language processing. I conducted research on data mining, big data
Sure.
data mining. Yeah, that was a very hot topic at that time. But now NLP is one of the hottest. So,
Right.
uh, how I get to know natural language processing that well, very interested in language and text processing. And especially after ChatGPT 2 years ago when it came out, is it's amazing. And I'm at the time I was intern at Microsoft, so I have the opportunity to use it, before the offshore came out of ChatGPT. Um, so at the time I was astonished by GPT, and I am thinking NLP is the future, and I want to do research on NLP. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. And at Microsoft, were you working like Microsoft research or interning in the industry side? Which aspect of
Oh,
Microsoft
it's a
were
research. Its name is Microsoft Research Asia. It's
you? Okay,
located
okay.
in Beijing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That was gonna be one of my future questions was gonna be about like similarities between industry, but we can get to that a little bit later.
Mhm.
Um, so just maybe kind of a continuation off that. What would you say that there's like maybe a specific moment or a specific, I don't know, some experience that really sparked your interest in NLP, or was it more of like a general, just like through learning about like the hot topics that are happening right now? How would you say you really found that interest in NLP? Like, was it a moment or was it more general, more gradual?
I would say the moment. Like
Okay.
So my strong interest of in NLP arose in 2023, just last year. Um, Last year, so oh, actually 2 years ago, yeah, in 2022. So at that time, I like reading novels,
Mhm.
especially some English novels.
Right,
And
sure.
also at that time, I interned at Microsoft. And what I did when I was in Microsoft is a project I did is about story generation. Um, so it's basically about using large language model like GPT to continue a story, how to write, you know, a story automatically and also came the consistency and coherence, so kind of stuff. And I tried using GPT to continue a novel, and actually it's amazing, yeah. And it seems very interesting. So that's the specific moment that aroused my interest.
Sure. Yeah, I think yeah, that's definitely I mean it makes sense. You're interested in like literature and also you're interested in computers and natural language processing. It's right there. It's the next step from there. So yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I think that's a very genuine path. It's like
Mhm.
so maybe we could go into some of your research that we were interested in. So I was wondering if you could give me maybe a simple overview on some of your recent research. I was reading about mental manipulation, that paper that
Mhm.
was a preprint. Yeah, just maybe a simple overview of that research.
Okay, so data research, I propose this project myself. Um,
Mhm.
the motivation of the research that I found, mental manipulation is prominent in this age. So many people suffer from it, and myself, including myself. So, I want to how to say that? I
Maybe if
think,
I can
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
if I can jump in there. Maybe could you maybe like describe what mental manipulation is? Because maybe I'm getting a different image of what I think that is. Maybe if you
Oh,
could just
it's a very general term, yes. So it's include many aspects like gaslighting, threatening,
Oh,
or
okay, okay.
yes, kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right, right,
So
okay.
yeah, it's a how to say, it's a branch of
Yeah,
problematic.
I know where you're going. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So I want to use, hold on. I want to develop a benchmark or data set that can be used for automatic systems like AI to detect and alert about manipulation um, on some um, application like a app or website. So this is the motivation. And then I construct this data set. Actually, we based on Cornell movie dialogue data set.
Mhm.
So yeah, because I know fictional data set is not the ideal data we want,
Right,
but
right.
getting ideal data is challenging because
It's
we
challenging,
have
right?
access. Yeah, right.
Hmm.
And then we also examined multiple state-of-art language models on this data set, and we found state-of-art language models like ChatGPT and Llamas. Even they are fine-tuned on this data set, they do not perform well on this task. So, yeah, I think detecting and classifying mental manipulation is still a very worthwhile topic to explore.
Right. I mean, I think that's so you mean in the sense that like ChatGPT and these other models are very affected by this idea of gaslighting and mental manipulation.
Um, Actually, I think first of all, they are not perfect in detecting it. So I
Sure.
know there are many application using language model for content how to say content. Um,
So the issue is in like identifying this mental
yes,
manipulation. Okay,
identifying.
okay, okay. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Um, maybe one question I have about that is, what would you say are some challenges you've tackled in that research?
Change tackles. Well, firstly, there is no existing research on this. We are the first data tackling mental manipulation. So so we construct this idea is pretty novel, and also we found that we have to recruit many annotators to annotate the data. Totally it has 4,000 samples of dialogues, and each dialogue have to annotate it by three annotators. So, we spend a lot of efforts in finding suitable annotators, and also we have to validate the annotation quality. And lastly, I think we also conducted many experiments on this. Yeah.
Sure.
So
What is an example of that kind of like what dialogue, for instance, would you see in such a data set? What would yeah, that's essentially my question. What would make that prime example to include in the data set? What could you maybe give like an example of a specific instance in the data?
oh sure. So all of the data is from movie dialogues, movie
Mhm.
conversations, and it's
Right, right.
between two characters.
Mhm.
And we have to filter, the candidate samples for annotation. So how we filtered the candidate samples, we first we use a lexicon matching that we manually crafted a list of high frequency phrases that may you often appear in mental manipulation, and we matching it if a dialogue contains such kind of phrases, it will be selected, and also we use BERT matching, you know,
Yeah,
machine
Bert,
learning
right.
to matching.
Right.
So examples, you can access the GitHub data link. I think I will send to you in the chat,
Sure.
and you can see examples of the data.
So there are examples in the paper or in the data set.
Data set. The
Right.
paper is just an illustration. The actual data is um more complicated and maybe took more time to comprehend. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely will take a look at that. So maybe, you know, what would you say, all right, maybe one question that I had regarding that was why would you choose specifically movies? Why is movies a topic of interest in curating the data?
Okay. In the beginning, we are not specifically looking for movie data, but we found online Cornell movie dialogues is a data set publicly available for our task.
Mhm.
We also browse and inquire lots of opening available data, but they are not ideal for our task. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just based on availability because I know data availability is really the big thing now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a larger reasons, I think firstly is high quality, and also we think the conversation between movie characters is very close to how people communicate with each other in real life. Um, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So what would you say, you know, it's a, given the limitations you've observed, right, in the current model's like ability to identify manipulative content, maybe just like like an extrapolation of your research, what direction do you think research should take, like research should take to overcome these challenges? Or how do you think your data set could interplay with the current research to make these models more effective?
Oh, sure. So, first of all, we can how to say fine tune this model on our data set, right?
Right.
So through some uh, reinforced learning or other techniques, and also I believe there are many, how to say, can be many, better usage of our data set. For
Sure.
example, the fine-tune generative models to manipulate humans on applications. And this is the two aspect, and also another thing that I think for purely analysis on psychologics. Maybe our set can provide some insight because our data set have many dimensions on mental manipulation. We include techniques and vulnerabilities, which I think will be interesting for psychological analysis.
Right. So the application of psychological analysis and fine-tuning are really like drivers in the applications of the data in like the real world in the future.
Yes, I think data and also uh, what kind of task is the driving force to develop better language models? Because language model nowadays, the best language model, they are enhanced largely by fine-tuning and human instructions. However, those tasks are generally, far from comprehensive.
Right.
So it's necessary to include more detailed, more task in human instruction.
Okay, yeah, for sure. That's definitely a definitely an interesting deep dive into your research there. So I was just maybe we could take a step out from the just the general scope of that research and more just like more specifically towards, I read you're interested in, implicit language within the models and human values and representing that effectively. So just a couple questions regarding those. Um, so another question about challenges. So with your work on like AI alignment with human values, like you said, like getting around those mental manipulation, what do you
Mhm.
consider to be like a very challenge? Is there any like, challenges that stick out primarily um in terms of getting AI to align with human values? Because I know just the general idea of human values is very generic. So maybe that's a challenge, but maybe like any challenges that you consider to be like very sticking out.
Yeah, sure. Aligning with human value is a very big topic. And I think for primary concern under this topic, first is what is human value be? You have to define what is the the standard human value, right? But it's very difficult because different group of people or different cultures they have different values.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, this is a primary challenge, and a larger challenge is that um, when you is to how to ground human values, because human value can change in specific context. For
Mhm.
example, um, if you are judge, you want to decide the cases for different cases, and you have to give lots of variation
Right.
depending on the
Context is very
context.
important.
So yeah, this is a larger concern that you have to find the find ground the human value for different scenarios.
Right.
Yeah.
So just like the idea of a human value is so broad, and that's really the main problem there. It's hard to define,
Yeah.
right? So another question that I did have was, your focus is, you could say, implicit learning and, human values, but I think one way that, maybe I sum it up would be AI for good, AI for like society or social good. Do you say that to an extent?
Sure.
So how do you envision, you're thinking about the future, how do you envision machine learning contributing to solving any societal issue that you thought of, within the next couple of years, next decade? How do you think machine learning plays a role, or machine learning, natural language processing? How do you think that plays an important role?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, firstly, I would say for generative models, they can be largely employed uh in AI bot, like
Mm,
um like in X or Twitter,
Twitter,
there
right?
are many bots, and they can be very helpful and funny, and they can be more widely used. For also for detection kind of
Sure.
detection, we can also use a model to detect toxic content online. I think toxic content is also prominent online, which
Right.
is processing issue. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think those are really two big things. I think definitely when I think of the role of machine learning, toxic content, and like you talk about manipulation in maybe just general data too, that's are
Mhm.
definitely two, especially when you consider like the state of things like disinformation, which is like a big thing that's happening now with the elections and all that stuff coming up now. Always the role of these AI models to help detect these things is very important, I think.
Yeah. Another topic is multimodal,
Sure.
which is so giving a text, you can generate a video,
Mhm.
image, and also you can do it in reverse. Yeah.
Right. Right. Okay, yeah. Um, And then some more questions I have, right? You talk about large language models to an extent. What do you think, we talk about all these limitations that they have with not being effectively able to do mental manipulation detection. What do you think are some, this is another one of those loaded questions, I think. This might be hard to answer concisely, but what would you say are some promising directions for improving the capabilities and mitigating limitations of large language models.
Um, First, I think is it means the limitation of the capability of language model. Well, hmm, that's a good question. Well, firstly, data size. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Although like GPT-4, they already trained on tremendous data, but it still have much room to get more data, right? Because the experiments show that more data generally have better performance. And we still can see the improvement like in ChatGPT 5 or 6. And another limitation is maybe it's the model structure because current models they are based on transformers. Transformer actually many people are looking forward to a new base model instead of transformers. So maybe yeah, maybe we look forward to it. Yeah, a
Sure.
better model and also align better with human values through reinforcement learning or other techniques.
Right. Okay, yeah. Some interesting points there. I mean, I was thinking along the lines of, you're right, data size is a big thing. Data quality is another one that I think of, you can have a large data set, but if the data isn't quality, then that's definitely
Mhm.
an issue there. There's always a constant talk about fairness and ethical nature of AI. So fair data could be another aspect, like balance in terms of racial showing in the data. Like you want some English data, Chinese data, Indian data, all these different things to be even. But yeah, one thing that I did want to discuss maybe, um, I don't know how much if you work primarily with model architecture or if it's mainly natural language processing, but what I've heard or is that, transformers might be reaching a stopping point for improvement in architecture because of the way that transformers are made, like the tokenized aspect of it makes it very simple, very simple architecture to like just general, it's a simple architecture. You can because tokens are such a representable data, you can represent text as tokens, images as tokens, audio as tokens, pretty much anything as tokens. That's
Mhm.
that's one thing I've heard. So maybe a question that I'd like to probe is, why would you or what do you think are some other directions for architectures that you've seen that are promising?
Architecture. Actually, I I do not get into much with architecture
Sure.
stuff.
No, I understand that's part of
Yeah,
why, yeah.
maybe you can. Do you know the context about mini language model? Like, yeah, let me send you the link later. So basically, that context is proposed by OpenAI, and it aims for researchers to propose smarter but smaller models, but reach the same performance with yeah. So maybe it gave insight like how can we make models smarter but smaller? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay, for sure. Yeah. I think they always talk about computational efficiency and increasing how efficient the models are. So I think that that's definitely, the mini models are definitely a start there. So, just a couple more questions. This is another step back again.
Mhm.
So, we think of language heavy fields, right? This isn't I wouldn't say, sure, I'll just ask the question. I think this might be another loaded question. I'm asking a bunch of loaded questions right now. So, we think of language heavy fields like healthcare, law, writing, art, music. They've been traditionally viewed as like requiring uniquely human skills, like something about the human that makes us better at doing those things. So do you foresee AI eventually matching or maybe even surpassing human capability in these areas? Um, and if so, how do you think the role of, the human AI collaboration moves forward when maybe if AI gets better or if humans continue? I know there's a couple questions thrown in there, but however you want to attack that, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, for I think currently AI's performance in writing stuffs it's still yeah it perform perfectly in some area, but generally it's still far from humans level. Especially in creative writing because AI they are still very limited or incapable of generating known text and
Right.
known text with consistent logics. Um, so for AI replacing, for example, writers, that's impossible at current stage. And for other imitation of AI writing, um, yeah, also I think AI they still have problem in understanding the context. So
Okay.
yeah, so we can also since neither text is written by human or AI, we can
Sure.
say it's
Right.
actually yeah. And the collaboration between AI and human, there are lots of topics, many areas to explore. For example, one thing I'm familiar with is that AI collaborating with human in story writing. Yeah, because there's a game like I forget the name. Maybe you played it, right? So it's basically multiplayers. They they play some story game. They give you a story plot and you play the characters. What's the name of it?
Eyes
Oh,
like charades kind of, or maybe I'm thinking of something different. But yeah, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So last year, a game developer contacted me like, and
Okay.
they want to develop such kind of game, incorporate AI and also using AI in the playing process, and it's very
Sure.
interesting. So yeah.
Sure. That's awesome. That's really interesting. I mean, I don't usually hear about that. That's really interesting. That's cool stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, from my side of things, that was primarily all the questions that I had. If there's any questions you had for us, I'd love to answer them, or if that's go ahead. If there's anything.
Sure. I actually, yeah. So you are a high school student?
Yes, yes, we're
Well,
in high school.
that's amazing. I mean, in China, for example, high school student they usually don't are not very interested in, or they um not familiar with doing research. But you are very interested in this, and you know impressed by it.
Sure, I think part of it is just the way just like the general education, I'm not sure, but my parents are Indian, and in India, there's just one exam, which is
Mhm.
like pretty much decides your future. I wouldn't say your future, but like the primary direction in which you go. Dungeons and Dragons, right? You're
Yeah.
talking about, right, right, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, actually, there's a couple of Dungeons and Dragons club at our school, so that's interesting too. Yeah, but going back to my point, I think, in India, I think it might be similar in China, but there's one primary test that really determines your future. But I think maybe it's just a different idea because I know here it's not really like about your test scores primarily. It's more
Mhm.
they call it a holistic process. Who knows what holistic means, but it's just, just be interested in different things. So maybe it's
Yeah,
different.
that's great.
Right.
So, are you applying to college right now? Your last
Yeah,
year?
I think this will be coming up right now.
Yeah, I hope hope you get accepted to every college you
For
apply for.
sure. Yeah, thank you. I
Yeah.
mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. I mean, I used to do research at Dartmouth. The example I did with robotics was I do research at the Dartmouth robotics labs right now, and Dartmouth is, one of those schools I think is really, really great, especially for the new topics that are coming in like natural language processing and stuff. So I think that's definitely one of my good choices right there.
Sure.
But
Did
yeah.
you apply to Dartmouth? Or
I plan to. I plan to. I
okay,
plan to.
okay.
Plan to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So it's all the questions I had. Yeah. I really appreciate, everything. Did you have any more questions or is that
uh, not right now, but
okay?
maybe yeah, we'll keep in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Email works great. Yeah. I think thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate all the insights, especially the
Yeah, you're
advice.
welcome.
I think it's great. Yeah. Um, thanks for meeting with me. Right.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, nice to talk with a American high schooler.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
high schooler I talked to.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, we can keep in touch in the future, of course. Love the conversation. Love your work on natural language processing too. It's really interesting. So,
Yeah,
yep.
thank you. And currently, my ongoing research is about quantitatively evaluating the implicit level of statement.
Sure. Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, I hope to also get accepted to a top conference.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Good luck to you too. Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a good night.
Yep. Bye-bye.